So you're trying to make a decision and you can't. You're going back and forth in your brain. You're making pros and cons lists. You're talking to all of your friends, asking for advice, and they're starting to get sick of you bringing up the same thing over and over again. And some of them are going to start saying, just make the decision. Just do it. But that advice only works if you trust yourself after the decision. And if you don't, you could get stuck in this very same predicament again. Let's dive in.
1, 2,
Welcome to Authenticity Lab. I'm Dr. Kelsey Miles, a chemistry professor and a musician. This is the podcast where we run life experiments because the world makes us think there's this right answer to life. And life isn't something to solve, it's something to discover. So I help you think like a scientist and create like an artist because you need both critical thinking skills and creative insight to navigate uncertainty and to build the life that you actually want. And today we're talking about why can't I make a decision? You know this very well when you search on the internet about issues you have in your brain. There is so much advice out there. And in this one in particular, when you are stuck and not sure how to make a decision, you're not sure which one to choose, a lot of advice will tell you just commit to a decision. If you aren't sure, just pick one and go with it. But that advice also comes with added pressure because if you're going to make the decision and just commit to it, now part of you is going, I better make the right decision. The choice feels permanent. And this is where a lot of us end up staying stuck rather than moving forward. But what if you were able to commit to a decision and also hold it lightly while fully enjoying the fact that you're moving forward and also trusting that if you need to pivot, you can? So instead of asking, how do I make the right decision? What if you asked a different question? What if you asked yourself, is the reason I can't make this decision because I don't have enough data and I need to go collect some more information and have some more conversations? Or is the reason I can't make this decision because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to handle the aftermath of that decision? That's about self-trust. If you can discern between those two, this is going to make it way easier to move forward. If self-trust is something that you struggle with, I'd suggest listening to the previous episode where we talk about what happens after the decision and building that self-trust, because that's the foundation, trusting yourself after the decision. So once we trust that we can handle what happens after the decision, then we're looking at something else with this inability to make the decision. It's either that you don't have enough data or that you are seeking certainty. If you don't have enough data, there's something we can do. If you're seeking certainty, there's only one way to get that. It won't matter how much information you collect. It's likely a decision you've been sitting on for a long time. You've probably had dozens of conversations and looked this up on the internet multiple nights in a row, trying to better understand it. You keep thinking about it, you keep researching, and it's still not getting any clearer. In that case, it is wise to just choose one. But if you aren't sure that you have enough information, and maybe you haven't really had many conversations about this and you can't make the decision, you might just need to set up some ways in which you can collect some more data about this decision. So let me walk you through my framework. I use this all the time when I'm trying to make decisions. It helps me get really clear and it helps me understand what I'm testing. So the first step is to calibrate. Ask yourself this question. You've got this decision in front of you. Do I need more data or am I just wanting certainty? You can feel the difference if you pause. If you need more data, it will feel like there are specific questions you have. If you want certainty, it will feel like, well, what about this? What about this? It will feel catastrophizing, very future focused. It won't be very specific. Then we move on to experiment. And if you are needing more data, your experiment is going to be, have a certain conversation, look up something online, make a phone call, whatever that is, and get really specific about when you're going to do it. Tell a friend or write it down in your planner or in your calendar and say, by this date, I'm going to have called or had a conversation with or found out this information. It will help you feel like you have momentum. If you're someone who's seeking certainty, your experiment is going to literally be making the decision. What I would suggest doing is putting it in your calendar and saying, by this date, I'm going to make the decision. And if that date comes up and you haven't, that's the day you're going to do it. And remember, you're not choosing the perfect choice. You're choosing the best choice with the information you currently have at that time. And the last step is to optimize. So after you've made the decision, give yourself some space. Be open to learning something. Stay curious to what you're going to learn from this decision. When you treat it like an experiment, that's what it is. There really is no specific right answer. All you can do is your best. And when you treat it like that, you can stay open to learning something about yourself and maybe making a different decision later on. The goal of this is not to be right. The goal of this is to learn and refine. If I could take back all of the energy and time I spent putting pressure on myself to make the right decision, life would have been a lot better. Most of the decisions we make are not permanent. Now, some are. I agree with that. But most things you're deciding on that you feel stuck in are not permanent. For example, I have students that talk to me about career choices and maybe going to graduate school or going to med school and trying to make that decision. And I know in the moment it feels so big. But at the end of the day, there are people who started graduate school and then went to med school. And there are people who went to med school and went to graduate school. And there's also tons of people who went to both and then dropped out. None of that makes you a failure. It means you learned something, and the only way you could have known what was best for you was by literally making the decision. As much as we get so afraid of making the right decision, sometimes it feels way worse when we're just stuck. So you're not stuck because you can't decide. You're stuck because of two possible things. One, you don't have enough data, or two, you really haven't fully trusted that you can handle whatever happens after you make that decision. When you really build that unshakable foundation, that you trust yourself, that you can handle anything thrown at you, decisions become a little lighter. And with time, you'll start to recognize that moments when you know that you aren't really sure what the best decision is because you don't have a crystal ball and can't read the future, you start to make those decisions faster because you go, well, neither one is glaringly bad. I'm interested in both. I'm going to choose this one. And if that turns out to not be the right one, I will pivot when that happens. And when you stop seeking certainty and perfect decisions, you end up building a skill that is way more powerful. You build self-trust. And because I've given myself grace for saying, you know what, it's okay. You're not really sure about this decision. It's helped me in situations where I've needed to gain more data or information. And it's helped me feel more at ease when I've made a decision and it really wasn't quite right for me. I think that's really what I want to share with you, is that a lot of advice out there can help in the short term to just push you to do something. And my goal with this podcast is to help you build a foundation that is always supporting you. When we push through and we ignore the ways in which we feel, we actually cut off our creativity and our curiosity in life. And we can miss out on the very discovery that could light up our entire world because we're open. So go run your life experiment. And don't forget that your life isn't something to solve, it's something to discover. So be bold, be curious, be you, and go make that decision. And I'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, that house will always call you.